G'day ladies and germs, Conor here from C-Dubs Media, back with another video, and today we're doing a review of the Oppo Reno8. I have previously done the Oppo Reno8 Lite and the Oppo Reno8 Pro, and today we're smack bang in the middle on the Oppo Reno8 5G. So without further ado, hit the like button and the subscribe button, and let's get stuck into the video. Let's go. Okay, so here we are. A really sleek looking device from Oppo. Love the color of this one. Let's just have a quick look here. Love the fact that it's a unibody design. So you have Gorilla Glass on the front and glass on the back, and it is a unibody. So there's no cutouts or anything around the camera arms. It's just one really well machined piece of glass. I really love it. Very thin, 7 point something millimeters thick. Really nice build, really nice design. I think it would probably drop pretty easy if you broke it, but for the most part, it looks amazing. You are going to want to get a case on it pretty quickly though. And another thing I do appreciate with this color is no fingerprints. I've been using it all day and no fingerprints to be seen anywhere on the back, which wasn't the same for the black one of the Oppo Reno8 Pro. That thing got fingerprints just from looking at it. It was just like Smudge City. But it looked amazing as well. But choose your color wisely and you don't have that problem, but you still have a great device. Now that color is Shimmer Gold. It looks white, but it is actually called Shimmer Gold, and they also have Shimmer Black as the other color. Power button on the right hand side, volume up and down on the left hand side, USB Type-C, which everyone has, and then we do have dual speakers. One up the top here and one at the bottom. It's a bottom firing speaker. So you do get a bit of that dual speaker feel when you're watching a bit of a movie or something online. I like it. Now we are talking a full HD display, which is 90 Hz and comes in at 6.4 inches. So a pretty sizable display, but manageable. I hate the bigger phones, the massive 6.7 inch displays. Can't stand them, so to get something between 6 and 6.4 inches for me is the sweet spot. And that 90 Hz helps you have that smooth feeling when you're scrolling or playing games. I do enjoy having that. You know, from 60 Hz to 90 is slightly noticeable, but when you go back to 60, it's very noticeable. So I do really appreciate that extra smoothness. Now we're looking at 8 gigs of Now we're looking at 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigabytes of storage. That's about where it is for everyone at the moment. I normally go with the 128 gig just because I use cloud storage for most things, but 256 is more than enough. It is also an AMOLED display and comes in at 409 ppi. So that's enough. That's what you want in the mid-range world. I really do think that this is, this is where you need to be. I think flagships now are for a very small market share, and for a large percentage of the market, this is the price range we need to be at. This is the specs we need to be at. So it's good to see Oppo coming in and giving us a good choice here in the mid-range of the Oppo Reno8 Lite, Pro, and just the standard Reno8. Really good options. Now I've been out during the day and at night taking photos and videos with this device, and I'm pretty impressed with the results. As you can see here from some of the low light photos of me in the city, I was getting some good detail, some good light, and some good colors in the photos. I also think for portraits, it takes a nice photo. It cleans up the rough edge of me a little bit with some of that AI modes, which I don't mind. I think that's what the world uses now, is artificial presentation of ourselves through our phone cameras, and it does it well in the Oppo Reno8. I definitely get some good detail in the photos and digitally sharpened. Look for yourself in these photos, whether they're portraits, landscapes, night mode. This is giving some really good results, and the bright daylight as well. You've got to remember what you're getting for the price here and taking that into consideration. But there's some really good specs here in the camera, some really good results. I think the best for video is 1080p stabilized, and then you do have the 4K as well, unstabilized, which looks pretty good when you lock it off on a tripod. And then you also have 720p. Okay, here we are on the Oppo Reno8. We have 1080p 30 frames per second on the front facing camera, which doesn't look too bad if you ask me. Now this is the onboard sound, what you're hearing right now. And then I'm just going to switch over to the Rode microphone that I've got in here, which is plugged into the Zoom H1N, and you'll see the difference, or hear the difference in the sound. I don't think this is too bad for a front-facing camera on a mid-range device. I think you'll get the good quality you need. Looks pretty good, sounds pretty good. Now here we are again with the same front-facing camera. This time I have stabilization turned on and scene detection turned off. So you'll see the image is much smoother, but it's also cropped in a fair bit as well. But again, mid-range device, 1080p footage. I think it's pretty good. It's, you know, walkie-talkie stuff. It's going to be fine for me. It's going to be fine for a lot of people. Let's go check out 4K. Okay, this is 1080p rear-facing camera, 60 frames per second with stabilization turned off. So you can see the stability you're going to get. Now you could slow this down to 24 frames per second, 25, 30 frames, whatever suits you and your editing style. And then you'll see what you get then. But if you've got audio over the top like now, then you're not going to slow it down. I think it's okay. Middle of the day, it's pretty cloudy, so there's a lot of light around, but not bad. Now we're going to turn stabilization on. Okay, here we are on the rear-facing camera on the Oppo Reno8 with stabilization turned on. What do you think? Now I think it looks pretty good. The colors are pretty good. Stabilization is pretty good. It's definitely good enough for most people. Even though we can get better phones with better specs, I think this is pretty good. Now this is with scene detection turned off, and I'll test that out in 4K so you can see the difference there. But stabilization on, 1080p 60. Okay, here we go. Now when you choose stabilization on the Oppo Reno8 and you're in 4K, it automatically falls back to 1080p 60. So that's what's happening now. So right now we have 4K 30 frames per second with no stabilization. But I am holding it on a little mini phone tripod to try and get it stable, and I'm trying to walk really slow as well. But you can see a difference between 1080p stabilized and 4K not stabilized. But if you've got your camera on a tripod, you're locking off some still shots, 4K 30 frames is going to be pretty good. Quite digital looking, but still quite nice. Now I'm just going to quickly switch over to 4K with scene detection on. Now I did just notice right then when you do put on scene detection, it drops back again from 4K to 1080p. So your scene detection and stabilization only work in 1080p, and then 4K is a bit more of a bit less bells and whistles when it comes to the 4K. So bear that in mind, but we still do have 4K here at this price point. Looks pretty good. And so does the scene detection. Tell me, does it get too saturated with scene detection on? Is it too green? Is my skin a different color? You let me know in the comments down below. But I think the Oppo Reno8 has a pretty good video setup for most people. And like I say in a lot of my reviews now, we don't need the $3,000 phones to get good footage. This works just fine. Now we are in dual video mode, so as you can see, filming front and back at the same time. Front facing camera is currently up top, rear facing camera is facing away from me, and let me know what you think. This audio is recorded through the Zoom H1N and stabilized. I'm just holding it on a tripod, the Manfrotto Mini. It's not a stabilizer, it's just a basic handheld tripod for a phone. And this is the image you get. So you could talk, people can see you while you're displaying what's in front of you. I like that option. I think it's pretty cool. It's done by a lot of manufacturers now, but it's not bad. It's something that it's certainly a feature that some people will use. Now, when it comes to the camera, the most important thing for a lot of people is a fast shutter. I definitely have that here with the Oppo and the camera. Now you do have quite a few different modes, and I'm just going to go through them quickly. You have Pro mode, you have Ultra Extra High Definition mode, or UHD mode, you have Panorama, Macro, Slow Motion, you can also do time lapses, You can do dual video recording, and then you have some other stuff as well where you can do templates and stickers and stuff like that. Then you also have your normal portrait mode, photo mode, video mode, and then night mode has its own little section as well. And that's where I find it, for the price, this does shine quite well. I think the photos for the Oppo Reno8 series are not overly saturated, they're not overly processed, especially in the rear-facing camera, and they are nice colors, and the white balance is accurate most of the time. There's a couple of times it leaned a little bit to the cold side when it comes to white balance, but most of the time it took a really good photo. I was really impressed, and that was my experience with the Reno8 and the Reno8 Pro. Now, another key feature that Oppo are really hitting home is the 80-watt fast charging, or the 80-watt super VOOC charging. This is insane. This is like 50% charged in 11 minutes. You ain't going to get that somewhere else. This is the only place you can get it. Now, you do also get a charging brick in the box to enable you to achieve those fast charging speeds, and you also get a cable. For some reason, the Reno8 this year, there's no case in the box, and I would like to just highlight that was sorely missed. I love how Oppo does give cases in the box, and I don't know why they've left it out, but hopefully they bring it back. So then on top of that 80-watt fast charging, we also have some good solid standby battery life. Probably going to get like 2 days use out of this for a medium user, or if you're a really heavy user, you're just going to easily get through a day on this. But it doesn't really matter. If you get home and you've got to run out the door in 11 minutes, put it on charge, and you're going to get 50% of the top up in 11 minutes. So that's just so hard to beat when it comes to battery life and performance, and also having that super VOOC charging. Just want to point this out. This is on the Oppo website, and it's worth noting because I know that a lot of my viewers are not from Australia. But for regions that use voltage of 110 volts, including Taiwan, North America, and Latin America, the charging supports up to 66 watt. 80 watt cannot be supported. So disclosure there, whatever you want to say. Comments down below what your thoughts are on that. But for me, I get the 80 watts. I get 11 minutes, 50% charged. I love it. Now, I'm pretty big on ColorOS. I think it's mature. I've always said in all my Oppo videos that ColorOS does really well these days. It runs well, it's smooth, it's optimized for the battery, it's optimized for the chipsets. So we have the MediaTek 1300, and we also have, I have to read this because I cannot remember it for the life of me, the ARM G77 MC9. So all that gives you a nice experience when you're gaming or doing editing or something like that. Like the phone can cope with what I can throw at it. Now, what do I do on my phone? I do a little bit of video, a little bit of video editing, and I mean very small amount of editing on my phone. Then I also do some multitasking, and I haven't had this phone trip up yet. It loads web pages pretty quickly, apps load quickly, like I just don't have any problems with that general stuff. So important here to remember what we're buying for, and the MediaTek 1300 does just fine. The 8 gigs of RAM does just fine. I mean, how many apps do you want open in the background? 3, 4? I think you're going to do just well with 3 or 4 apps open in the background. Now, just quickly, if I think of other areas throughout the day where using a phone can be really good experience or really frustrating, would be 2 areas. Unlocking it. Now, that can be a really good experience, and you don't even know that it's happening when it goes well. Or it can be a really horrible experience, like when you're using, say, the Pixel 6 Pro, and you have to press that fingerprint scanner like 3-4 times to get it to work. Well, here with the Oppo Reno8, we have super fast facial recognition. Now, in the specs on their website, it says facial recognition supported. For me, it is fast. Like, it's unlocked. As I take it out and look at it, it's already unlocked. I can start scrolling immediately as the phone is looking at my face. It's just super fast. That's where you want to be with Oppo. For those of you that like using the fingerprint sensor, it is on the display and it is a bit down the bottom end of the display. For me, it's probably just a smidge too far down, a bit like the 8 Pro is in the same ballpark. But when you do hit it, it's fast as well. There's no problems for me with Oppo and the speed of their fingerprint scanners or facial recognition. When you want it to work, it works fast. Just quickly, the software I've got here, checking for updates. I'm on Android version 12 and ColorOS version 12.1. I would expect to see that updated shortly to Android 13 and ColorOS 13. It's time. Oppo should be doing that pretty quickly, I believe, but the security updates are there as well. My experience with the software is fine. I just want to see those updates coming through a little bit quicker. All right, that's my review of the Oppo Reno8. And in fact, you can include the whole series in that. Links here and here if you do want to catch the Oppo Reno8 Lite and the Oppo Reno8 Pro reviews. They're both worthy contenders as well. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will catch you all in the next one. Check out.